Dear brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus, today we are in the 21st Sunday in Ordinary Time. The first reading is taken from the book of Prophet Isaiah. We find here the mentioning of the key of the house of David. Because of this mentioning of key of the house of David, some fathers say it is a messianic prophecy foretelling the removal of the power of leaders of the chosen people of Old Testament and transferring of that power to Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ in turn handed that power to Saint Peter, who is the head of the church, the leader of the church, the new people. And there is a beautiful connection between first reading and the gospel reading. When we look at the second reading is taken from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. When we read the previous words of today's second reading, we find that Paul is describing God's love for Jews as well as Gentiles. He is merciful dealing with Jews and Gentiles. And he concludes this section of this letter with a hymn of praise for God's infinite wisdom and mercy. And God's infinite wisdom and mercy is beyond anything that we can imagine. The nature and gifts of God are infinite. Therefore, no human infinite mind can grasp them or conceive adequately of them. Human has only human nature, human wisdom, and human knowledge. But God has divine wisdom, divine knowledge, and divine nature. Therefore, God is not independent of any creatures. He is self-sufficient and He is independent of all things. God is the creator of all things, He is the sustainer of all things, and He is the final goal of all things. So, all the creatures, the entire creation, should give Him honor at all times and in all the places. In the gospel reading we find Saint Peter's profession of faith in messianism and conferring of the gift of infallibility on Saint Peter and primacy of Peter in the church which Jesus is going to establish. Jesus had done many miracles and He proved that He is someone greater than all other prophets. In this juncture, Jesus is asking the disciples, what is the general impression of the people about me? Disciples say the general impression of the people about Jesus as one of the prophets, or Elijah, or Jeremiah, or John the Baptist. They have reason for telling Elijah, Jeremiah, or John the Baptist. They said he might be a Jeremiah or Elijah because of basing on the words that are written in the Old Testament. They said he might be a Elijah basing themselves on the words written in Malachi chapter 3 verses 23 and 24, wherein we find Elijah would come announcing the days of Messiah. And they also said he might be a Jeremiah basing themselves on the vision that is mentioned in 2 Maccabees chapter 15 verses 11 till 16. And they also said he might be John the Baptist, who raised from the dead, he who proclaimed openly that he is the precursor of Messiah, came back to life in order to complete his mission. And these are the understandings of the people about Jesus Christ. Now Jesus is asking very personal question, what do you say about me? Peter, without any hesitations, he comes forward to answer the question of Jesus. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. He is confirming the messianicship of Jesus Christ. It doesn't mean that he is proclaiming the faith in the divinity of Christ. This divinity of Christ is accepted and understood only after the resurrection of Christ. This proclamation of Peter is just a confirmation of Jesus as the expected Messiah. Jesus tells him, it is not the blood or flesh that had revealed you, but the divine revelation from my Father. It is not the human reasoning that made him to acknowledge that Jesus Christ is the Messiah, but it is truly the divine revelation from his Father that made him to understand that Jesus is the Messiah. And Jesus says, it is on this rock I will build my church. Here he means the rock is the solid foundation of the church, the community of the new chosen people, which Jesus is going to establish to carry out his missions for the mankind. And this particular privilege is given to Peter for his confession in Jesus Christ as the Messiah. We too find Jesus telling the handing over of the key of the kingdom of heaven. Legally speaking, handing over the key of the house means or implies the power or the jurisdiction of that house is given to a particular person. Here, Saint Peter is given the power and jurisdiction of the kingdom of heaven. What is this power? Jesus goes on narrating in the upcoming verses that this power is the spiritual power. Whatever he says or does in virtue of this power is approved and ratified in heaven. He has the power to command any obligation on people or to remove the obligation from the people. And this power is given to Saint Peter. Jesus is telling the disciples not to reveal this to anybody. He says this because the understanding of the local people, the normal people, the ordinary people was the Messiah as the political Messiah, not as the spiritual Messiah. Today, the liturgy of the word invites us to introspect and see, who is Jesus Christ for me? After having been experienced for these many years, Jesus is asking to us this particular question: what do you say that I am?